Sam Carchidi, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi Chuck. I know on the NHL Network today you said that Atkinson is going to help with the compete level, and you didn't think you were tough enough to play against. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? What he brings, to that notion?
Yeah, to me, Cam Atkinson is, is what I guess we call a hockey player, and he loves to play the game of hockey. Tremendous energy. You probably heard that in his press conference today. He's a player that really can contribute every which way. I think he's been one of the better 5-on-5 goal scorers in the league over 7-8 years. He drives play. He's an elite penalty killer. I think he's second to Brad Marchand in shorthanded goals, and going back to 2014. He's been a really good scorer during the playoffs. Again, there's really not much he can't do. And for a guy that isn't that tall, he's tenacious. He gets to the inside, and, look, Sam, I think we just can't keep bringing the same players back year after year and expect different results. We had to make changes this year, and the players that we've added are all what I would call high energy, competitive people. And how often have we talked about our slow starts over the past 2-3 years since I've been here, and allegedly a lot longer than that. And we need some juice. We need some energy. We need to change the mood in the room, the energy in the room. And it's nothing against the players that we had here before. It's about trying to create a new group, a new leadership group, new chemistry. And all of these guys we have acquired, besides being good hockey players, bring a lot of those qualities, bring a lot of experience, bring a lot of professionalism to our roster.
Sam, did you have a follow-up? Okay. Charlie O'Connor, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Chuck. I want to talk to you specifically about Jake Voracek. Obviously, he's been, on this team for quite a while. What went into the decision to move him, and the conversations you had with him, and whether that was more something driven by you guys, more driven by him, more of a mutual thing? Just now that he's been traded, I was wondering if you could open up about that a little bit more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. First of all, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Jake, and he's one of the best players in franchise history. Love him as a person. We've had great conversations all year for the 3 years I've been here, and gotten really close to him. And, it's definitely a mutual thing. I think he would say the same thing. I think it's time. It was time for Jake to go to a new team and re-energize, and it was time for us to bring in different players and get going in a different direction. It's as simple as that. I mean, last year wasn't good for any of us. Again, I think I said it earlier, it just felt like there was a malaise around the team all year. There was no energy, no juice. Nobody smiled. We didn't play well. And so, look, we got to get back to being a team. We got to get some energy here. And look, Jake is going to go to Columbus. He'll play really well. He's going to get an opportunity to play with good players, and he's a productive player, great playmaker, has lots of gas left in the tank. And I know he's going to do great there. And in turn, I think Cam's going to do very well here. He's excited, and I think both teams got what they're looking for in this deal.
Charlie, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah. This is, I guess, more of a bigger picture question. So far you've kind of remade the defense, with the Voracek trade, you shook up the forward core, and you're now in a position cap-wise where you could bring in a backup goalie, fill out the roster. I mean, obviously you're not going to say exactly what you're going to do, but I mean, could you envision mostly being done now, or do you expect to make more, I guess, franchise changing moves in the coming days going into free agency?
I don't know about franchise changing. It's been a grind. It's been a grind, making these trades and in a cap strapped world. And, you have to move out to add. And we wanted to get ahead of the free agent frenzy, and felt that by making trades, we could control the price point better and the assets that were coming in and out. And, we felt very comfortable with what we did, and we like our team, and we think we're a better team today than we were at the end of the season. Having said that, we still have work to do. Obviously we have to add a goalie. I think I would certainly look at another defenseman and another forward up front, to add some more depth. And yet we know we have some good kids that are going to push for opportunities. So, we're excited. I think we're going to be a deep team. We're going to have, again, maybe a little bit more experience, particularly on the blue line. I think we're going to have some guys coming back hungry and energized, ready to go. So, I've spoke to several players in the last 24 to 48 hours, and they're fired up. They're excited. They finally feel like last year's in the past, and that it's going to be a different world, a different camp, a different team, and in my opinion, a better team.
Anthony Sanfilippo, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hi, Chuck.
Hey, Anthony.
I have two questions. My first one is, trades come together in varying lengths of time, right? I mean, some take forever, some come together rather quickly. How could you kind of take us through, the length of time it took with Atkinson in this case? Was this something that came together rather quickly, or did you kind of have an idea that this was a player that you could target for a few months now?
No, this came together pretty quickly. Again, just with the cap, and this is where it goes back to Gostisbehere, and we really needed to move some cap to be able to get into Ellis and Ristolainen and have money for a backup goalie and some other pieces. And then with this move, we were able to, it's a good hockey trade, in my opinion, that helps both teams, but it's also favorable for us on the cap for the first 3 years of the deal. And so there's just been a lot of arithmetic going on, to be honest with you, and way too much for my liking. I prefer when you can just make decisions independent of the cap. But it's been tight. It's really tight. And so I would say this came together in the last 2 to 3 days. And I started talking with Jarmo, and we had a conversation, and again, I think he was looking to shake up his group, and he's made a lot of great moves there. And I really like this trade for both teams.
Anthony, did you have a follow-up?
Yes, I did. You touched on this briefly earlier, but the three guys that you've brought in so far, all three were members of the leadership groups with their former teams. Was that something that you've really wanted to focus on here in the offseason, is getting that type of player who could come in and fill that role here?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, culture to me is sometimes one of the more overused terms in sport, and culture to me really just means, obviously it's the environment that you create, but that's created by the players and their work ethic and, what they do on and off the ice, how they treat their teammates, their team orientation. And all three of these guys are, from the research we've done and the people we've spoken with, love to play hockey. They love to come to the rink, be with their teammates. They want to win. They want to compete. They're willing to take on whatever roles asked of them. And they're good hockey players. So it was a really, really important part of reestablishing that leadership group. And frankly, when Niskanen left, the group changed a bit. He brought a lot to the group, as we've all talked about for the last year. But that was one of the ones that maybe people don't recognize as much as what he did. And even for guys like Giroux and Couturier, they could look to Niskanen for all his experiences. So I think we're bringing in people that have played, been on good teams, bad teams, seen the ups and downs. And, they're going to bring a lot of those experiences with them. And all three are very excited to come to Philadelphia. Very excited. And I got so pumped up talking to Cam Atkinson today. So I've been not sleeping a lot for the last week, and I didn't need another cup of coffee after my conversation with him. He's fired up and ready to go. And so it's great. I think today was a good day for the Flyers.
Jordan Hall, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hi, Chuck.
Hey, Jordan.
You mentioned the malaise last season, how nobody was kind of smiling. It was a tough year. Are you surprised at how quickly that happened, just given the progress you guys made in 2019-20?
Well, I think part of it was the environment that everybody dealt with, all of you, everybody. And again, we certainly didn't have it worse than anybody else, but it was just a weird, awkward season. And we clearly didn't deal with it as well as some other teams. And then you combine that with the fact that we started to lose, and it wasn't fun. But we needed to change things, and we talked at the end of the season press conference about change. And many of you asked me questions like, does the leadership group need to change? Does the culture need to change? Can you win with this group? And what about your defense? And believe me, we've looked at everything that all you guys are looking at. We have a big to-do list, and we're chipping away at it. I think we're making good progress. And the exciting thing is I think we can still add over the next few days, and it's going to be a different and, in my opinion, better team. We'll see next year, but there'll be energy next year, and the world's coming back to normal a little bit more, and for all of us. But look, it was a tough year, and clearly our play was part of it. But there was obviously outside factors.
Rob Parent, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Rob.
Hi, Chuck. How long did it take for you to really get a grasp on maybe that leadership group did need to change, or maybe more energy needed to come in? Was the year before this past one, was that sort of an interruption to that? Or, were you thinking that all along?
No, I don't think it was so much the leadership group had to change in a sense of the guys were the wrong guys. I think we needed to add more people to it and get some different people in that hadn't been here for a while. And Niskanen did a lot of that. And Kevin Hayes has brought a different dynamic to the team. And us, obviously Justin Braun and Brian Elliott and different guys over the years. But, we just really, I thought we were young at places last year. We let some veteran players go and lost some veteran players, and we replaced them with kids. And, frankly, I think it was too much to ask of certain players and of the group as a whole. And so it was less a reflection of the inability of the leadership group and more a reflection on the fact that I didn't provide enough leaders for the group. And so that's what I mean. We needed to change that. We needed to bring in a different dynamic, bring in more voices, some different voices, to complement what we have here.
Rob, did you have a follow-up?
Yes. Speaking of leaders, is Claude Giroux in the same spot with this club in your mind coming to this as he's heading into his last year of his contract? But is he in the same role this year, or maybe with the changes does his role change a little bit?
No, he's our captain.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll do 2 more questions. Bill Meltzer, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hi, Chuck. The other day when Shane Gostisbehere was traded, you ran down some internal options. You mentioned, of course, Robert Haig, who was still here at the time. And you also mentioned Sam Moran, who was an impending unrestricted free agent. So can you kind of clarify Sam's status right now?
Yeah, we're expecting to sign Sam in the very near future. So Sam would like to return. We'd like him to return. And we've been chipping away, and I think should be in a position to get something done here pretty quickly.
Okay, last question. Charlie O'Connor, you're on with Chuck. Go ahead.
Hey, Chuck. You mentioned about the possibility of looking to add another forward, another defenseman. I'm curious as to how you, right now at this moment, how you see the third line center spot shaping up. Obviously, Coots and Hayes are 1-2, but Nolan's gone. Morgan Frost is obviously coming off the injury. Is that a spot that you guys would be looking into, or do you think you have the pieces internally where you don't necessarily have to address it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have the cap space to get into those types of players. The higher end 3Cs. I think we have some internal candidates that we'll look at, and that's something we'll have to sort out through training camp. I mean, we'll see what opportunities come up, and certainly there could be opportunities here to add a center in the coming days. But we may have to look at internal options for that and have some competition in camp.
Okay, Chuck, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.